Well, here we are, middle of June. I need to be getting close to putting my second pass of herbicide on the beans, and need to be still making my first pass of herbicide on the corn. And it's raining. Well, at least it is to the south of us, to the north of us. Oh well. So the sprayer's sitting there in the trailer. So, might as well make use of our time. Keep working on this project. And that's come over here to the frame that that we're ultimately going to redo anyway, and put one on the left side and one on the right side, and it'll be a little bit narrower. This will be down to 13 foot wide, lower to the ground, and oh yeah, it's also closer to the actual planter. The one tank that will handle all of the herbicide that way is all kind of, it's right there next to the pump for agitation, for the valves, etc. And now I'm not trying to figure out how to run a hose front to rear on that thing, going past the pivot point. It keeps the tractor a lot simpler. So that's what we're gonna do. I've talked to a couple other people that have had these, because I know, and now here's the next thing. Oh, it's gonna break those, and you know, there's not that's just, you're asking for trouble and all of that. Well, I probably am. One of the things I'm gonna do on that is instead of just the standard 6-bolt hub that's there, I have a couple of 8 bolts, just upgraded. The tire capacities themselves, between this side and the other, there's plenty of capacity, so I'm not real concerned there. I've seen people mount 32 rows of units plus 4 of the cyclo hoppers on these bars without any problem. Plus they go and they put a tank of fertilizer on this side and a tank of fertilizer on the other side. Now the most I've seen them do for the tank of fertilizer here and there is 200 for a total of 400. I've talked to another person that has one of these. They said they did one tank of 400. Now we're talking 600 here. I don't know. Like I said, I'll probably end up beefing up those, or maybe even just tracking down another set of these. Might even see if I just take another tire like that and mount on the other side right over here. I got a couple of things I'm thinking about here, but the frame itself, way heavy, plenty heavy. The thing that we're going to need to do is probably extend this hitch a little bit. Yeah, I know it gives you more mechanical advantage here, but again, I'm talking like maybe an extra foot, maybe 2 foot of extra hitch out the front. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. For right now, let's just get the tanks on here, get them up out of the way, so then I can move this out of the way, get this cleaned up around here. Okay, so this is going to be our bracket for our tank for the outside of the planter. So it's actually, if you were looking at the planter like this, hitch being somewhere in here, this is going to be the far right side if you were standing looking forward. So the tank will sit down in here like this, and that'll be the front. This is where our 7x7 toolbar will be here at the back. So we've got the outside done for the right hand tank. Go and do the inside. It'll be the exact same thing. The only difference is this brace will be on the opposite side of the runner. So that's where we're at. Let's put together the other side. As you can see, that's where we have the saddle tanks now. Honestly, they look like they were meant to be. Truth be told, I say that's going to work pretty good. I gotta finish welding them on. That shouldn't take too long. Well, it probably will. I won't force you to watch me do any of the welding, but alright, so I had a little bit of a rethink here as to how our tanks are going to be plumbed. Now that we've got those two 300 gallons on the planter frame itself, I'm going to put all of this capacity to 28. So when we're planting corn, all of our nitrogen will come from this up top. Probably run somewhere between 12 and 15 gallons to the acre from that. And at that rate, we can go about, well, right around 40 acres in between fills. And then on the planter units themselves, back there, those two tanks that we put on yesterday, in fields that don't require any phosphorus, we'll put both of those to pre-emerge chemical. That will get us close to 40 acres as well. So then we can time our fill-ups with the liquid product. Now, in the fields that do require phosphorus, well, we'll have to stop more. At most, every 20 acres. Because then what will happen is only one of those tanks will be pre-emerge, while the other one will be our 1034O, which will get pumped up here to our variable rate piston pumps. Now, the actual 1034O probably will last a lot more than the 20 acres, but the reason we'll have to stop every 20 acres is going to be because of the pre-emerge the pre-emerge chemical. And then our 28 will still go 40 acres. So even with that setup, every other fill will be a major fill, while you'll still have your pre-emerge. Either way, 20 acres is what I do now with the sprayer. We can still get a lot done in a day. So I don't know, what will that translate to? Probably every hour is how much we would stop at most. Every 2 hours, when this thing is fully full and there's no 1034O needed. So now we got that out of the way, I think it's time we get back to our Air Force. So this unit, we have it set up to where it can just turn, pivot, and it is in place. However, all of the torque is on that tube up front. So what I'm going to do is raid the scrap bin and just put a support there so that when this thing clicks into place for operation, there's a support down there between basically where that gap is. I don't know if you can see that or not. So that's what we're going to do today on this 90 some odd degree day. It's heat advisory. We're staying inside the shop, that is. Anyway, so we're going to put that support in there. Then we're also going to put some sort of pin either here or on that support itself. I'm really leaning towards here just because of how easy it is to get to it. That'll be the last thing we do. Some sort of pin that keeps this tucked in right there during operation in the field that you can easily pull out and then pull the air compressor out to service it at the end of the day, or however often you need to service the thing. Honestly, it looks just like you drain it like you would a semi-truck daily, I guess. I think it says weekly, but I don't know. I don't know how often. This is the first time I've really run a air setup on a planter, so I have no idea how often we're going to need to drain that. But regardless, this is going to make things a lot easier. So let's raid the scrap bin and see what we can muster. All right, so I saved you some more boredom. I went to my scrap bin, found this 2x2 by, I believe it's 1/4 inch square stock, and I also had some old 2x3 still. That, oddly enough, had 245s on each side, so I just went with it. And we kind of made it look like it was planned, I think. So this is going to be our rear support. And what I went ahead and done is clamped it to the bottom of our hinged support. And what we'll do is we'll see how well, this moves a little bit here, we'll see how well I measured. There we go. Walk that in just till we get a touch. Still looks good there. Ooh, gotta move it just a little bit here. Maybe. Probably can't even see it in the video. But that has to be flush against the chassis back here. Just like that. Okay, and then let's look front to back. I'd say that's pretty square. So that looks pretty good. Alright, so I'm not going to trust that clamp for much longer. I'm going to go ahead and weld that on there. And then start figuring out how we're going to put a pin in this. Alright, so I got our piece of scrap, weldment, whatever you want to call it, all welded on there. Now it's time to turn our attention to our pin. And what I'll be using for this is one of these category 2 hitch pins. And I got these category 2 to category 3 bushings. The bushings are what I'll actually weld to that. And then the hitch pin, well, we'll use as a hitch pin. So, first things first is I want to get the pin out away from everything, like the hinge itself, the air compressor, etc. Basically somewhere where I can easily get to it, pull it out, and then ultimately service the air compressor. So, went to the scrap bin. This is left over from doing the angles on the fertilizer tanks. Out there on the planter, it had a couple 45-degree cuts. Here's one. that gets us out away from our brackets here, and basically frees up some space. So once we get that welded on, then somewhere, oh, there it is. I got this 1x1 piece of angle iron, again way too heavy, but it's in the scrap bin. And that is also 1 inch, which is what our spacer right here is. This, it's just in there to keep this level while I weld it. Then this piece of square tubing will hit the road. We'll replace it with this. And this is what our other bushing will weld to, like that. And then the other one will be just on top like that. And then we'll put our hitch pin in. So let's get welding. Go. So let's take a quick look at what we did. So obviously I welded those two pieces of scrap on there. Then I had to notch out that little corner piece right there. I think I got that in the camera right there with the torch. And then I polished up where those two little bushings came together, just because, well, let's face it, these aren't exactly square. I mean, they're pretty close, but when you're wanting stuff to make it to clear like that, well, yeah, it's best to add a little bit of gap for expansion, contraction, sagging, etc. So then let's look back here. That's pretty good. I'd say we're in pretty good shape. So there we have it. Good to go. Alright, so came to a end of a chapter on this thing. We got most of the welding done, and now it's time to start putting some plumbing on. So I got a couple of valves here on the bottom of these two Chem Farm tanks, and I'm just kind of starting to rough in some plumbing. So these two are going to be tied together. It's going to draw this way down through that elbow, and then down here we're going to have our strainers just below the pump. Now that smaller pump there in the back is going to run our 1034.0. That's going to go through that strainer there. I'm going to go ahead and get another strainer put on there here momentarily, and just kind of hanging in there with this heat. But anyway, coming over here to the opposite side, this is going to be the side where we fill our 28. And I don't know how I'm doing it yet, but somehow I'm going to incorporate a bracket here for that valve and for the male clamp fitting. So the cam lock fitting, there we go. But somehow I'm going to have that cam lock fitting attached to here, and then have the hose run up to here, and then connect the two like so. So it's just a matter of, basically I got a big box of parts, and it's just a matter of seeing what fits and where it doesn't. And oh yeah, I bought the big box parts several months ago, so who knows. And take you along for that fun adventure. This doesn't look that bad, does it? Okay, it might be bad, I don't know. That's all you can do. All right, so when we do run our variable rate phosphorus, we'll draw from one of our tanks on the planer toolbar, have a line running somewhere along the side of our air cart. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it on this side or the other, but regardless, it'll run alongside the frame and then dump into this strainer. From that strainer, it'll get sucked up to our smaller piston pump here. Then both of them will jet out through here. Now comes the interesting part. I'm thinking, so the original plan was to have the mixer somewhere at the back. The more I think about it, I might have it up front somewhere, especially since we've got a lot of dead space over there on the other side of the air cart by where we installed that air compressor. So, but for right now, that's where we're at. Got our two tanks tied together, our 228 tanks tied together, and it's just a matter of roughing in the plumbing and staying cool. So back to welding on this project, and well, I'm gonna let you be the judge. Did something change on this project? Yes, no, maybe. Probably can't tell, can you? Is it so messily done? That's right, I painted the frame. That is John Deere Ag Green. The touch-up paint you get from the dealer. I just rolled it on. Yeah, it'll work. It'll work. So, reason I held off on painting until I got some of the plumbing in is I just wanted to be sure that I was done with the welding, and for the most part that is the case. However, I do have some welding to do up front, and that's where these little guys come in. If I can do this one-handed. I had it on there at an angle, and the more I looked at it, I was like, I don't like that. Anyway, these little guys are hydraulic hose holders, and what they do is they are designed so that the whole up here at the thick part, the whole end of the SAE tip can go through, and then just the little rim of the of that tip catches on its way down. Each one of these can hold two sets, that is. And I got two. Well, come on now. Sometimes these little magnets don't want to stick. It's not like it's thin metal either. For crying out loud. You'd think it was absolutely worthless. But anyway, there we go. Just kind of take a quick measurement here. Show you what I'm doing. Finally got it to stick. About 7/8 back. About 7/8 back. So that's pretty good. We'll just run a quick weld bead there.